Did you ever feel like a failure because you didn't manage to find someone to settle down with?
Do you still feel insecure about your English now?
There probably have been a couple or some people who may have said awful things to your face. Is there any that you can recall that was like the most awful?
We are used to interviews being careful, managed, polished. But what happens when a question isn't trying to challenge you? It's trying to understand you. When someone doesn't ask to impress, but asks to connect? These weren't just interviews. They were lessons in how humans open up. Sometimes, all someone needs to open up is not a good answer, but a good listener. Watch what happens when someone doesn't rush to respond, but leans in and asks to understand.
Hi, Mr. President. What was the biggest fight you've ever had with your father?
It's very interesting because I've never had a fight with my father or any serious argument.
Ooh, I see.
Because he allowed me to do whatever I wanted and to grow up my own way. Both my father and mother put very little pressure on me, and I really appreciated that. So they just let me grow up the way I wanted.
Oh,
So
wow.
no fight.
Wow. I can share a little bit of my self experience.
Yeah,
so ever since I was born, my dad always scolded me, beat me, caned me, bad bruises.
Oh dear.
I feel like I was living in a torture environment until I turned 21 years old as an adult. I was forced to be independent on my own.
Mm-hmm.
My family abandoned me because I have ASD
Okay.
Yeah, so I not like your parents who didn't give you any pressure
So what happened to you after you were 21? Where did you go and where were you living?
Then I moved into the rental rooms.
Okay.
I was taken care by the organization.
Okay.
I'm also now working full time So my biggest goal is I want to buy my own house.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully can get married one day.
Yes.
To prove myself that I'm better than my family.
Yes, I understand that fully. Well, you've had a very difficult life as a young person. Sometimes it strengthens you, gives you strength for the rest of your life. And you give me the impression that you have real strength in you.
Thank you. I will continue to prove myself to be much stronger.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day I will achieve my goals independently also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep in touch with me. Let me know how things are going and if you need some help.
Wow, that's an unexpected answer. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Tharman didn't just listen. He witnessed. His response didn't move away from pain. It helped the pain find meaning. That's not consolation. That's affirmation. He isn't ending the story. He's helping it continue.
Okay, I do have similar experience with you. My previous family don't care about me anymore, so I'm living all by myself for the last 8 years.
Are you in a good place now?
Yeah, I'm in a good place, and I'm going to study a private diploma at SIM.
Oh, well done.
Indranee wasn't unkind. She just did what most people do. Move towards comfort, closure, and positivity. But comfort isn't always connection. Sometimes, empathy means staying long enough to understand. When people feel safe, something magical happens. They don't just share what happened. They share it in detail. Because humanity lives in details.
Hi, Minister Ong. Did people make fun of the fact you couldn't speak English when you were younger? And how do you deal with it?
I would say people didn't make fun of me. During the time when I was a child and in primary school, there are actually quite a number of students coming from Chinese-speaking background where family language is Chinese. We are just very quiet. Not because we are quiet people, but because we don't know what to say. We don't have the command of the language. So it took a long time for me to gradually learn English, to be able to speak first. Writing came a lot later. I would say writing came only towards the end of my university when you're forced to write essays.
Say a composition, those kind of.
Oh, I struggle.
Oh boy.
I started reading maybe at P2. I remember I was seated in front, and my English teacher was just teaching us to pronounce a certain long word. And that was the point at P2, 8 years old, that I realized, hey, hang on, if W-I-N is win, D-O-W is do, you put together is window, you know. I discovered phonics at that moment, and I still remember that moment. So that was the start of my reading.
Amazing, yeah.
Do you still feel insecure about your English now?
Sometimes, honestly, because grammar don't come naturally to me. Because my brain is wired from a very young age to the Chinese language. So grammar came later, and grammar is torturous, you know. I never understood. Run, past tense, ran. Then past participle, run again. Huh? Then break, broke, then broken. So it was torturous learning all that. Thankfully, there is now autocorrection. I do make quite a bit of grammar mistakes whenever I write speeches. So if you hear me deliver a speech and I make grammar mistakes, that was me.
Ong didn't just say, I struggled with English. He brought us into his classroom. He showed us the moment phonics finally made sense. The insecurity, the pride, the long, slow climb. Vulnerability isn't just about honesty. It's about specificity.
Good afternoon, President Tharman.
Afternoon.
You are good at so many things and you seem so confident always. But what is one personal insecurity that you struggle with that might surprise Singaporeans?
Well, I'm sure there are many, because I'm not good at everything. Something which I've never been very good at is to be disciplined and to get everything done in time when I was young as well as through life. But I do what I enjoy at each point in time. I'll probably be more effective if I was more disciplined. It was a huge weakness when I was young, huge weakness, because I found it very hard to pay attention in class, in school. It was just part of my character. I couldn't pay attention. Even when I was in my 20s, I was like that.
Tharman's answer is sincere, but abstract, selective, controlled. Ong's is textured, human, and lived. But vulnerability is more than storytelling. It's reflection. Because pain doesn't move us when we hear it. It moves us when we see how it changed someone.
How do you feel to be one of the few PAP members that is not selected for the general election in 2011?
It took it quite hard. In 2011, many of my colleagues and friends came in together, like Minister Chan, at that time ex-speaker Tan Chuan Jin. They were all my schoolmates, so we knew each other for a long time. And then I felt, how come I'm the only one that didn't get elected? Yeah, so it was, it hit me quite hard. Yeah, but I must say, after that, you start to realize, okay, no point brooding about that setback, right? You start to think about, is it a failure? Actually, not really. Depends on how you look at it. So I decided I shall not make this a failure. So therefore, I took the opportunity to learn different things. I was in the union at that time. I served the union, and after that, went to the private sector, tried to learn something I never did in the private sector, and then eventually came back again. And when I come back, I became a different politician. I don't think I am who I am without the 2011 setback. In some way, 2011 and the setback in Aljunied changed the way I look at politics and changed the way I feel what kind of politicians I am.
Do you remember the time when your siblings passed away? What were you doing at that moment?
My sister, she passed away in France because of the time difference. I think it was at night. And we were just getting ready to go to sleep, and I think that's when the call came in. But for my brother, I was at work. I had just come back from court. I was back in the office when they tried calling me, and at first I wasn't able to take the call, but when I did, then they told me that he was actually taken to the hospital because he had had a heart attack at NUS. So then I rushed down to the NUH, but by that time he had passed on.
Indranee described what happened. Ong explained what it did to him. Pain is not meaningful just because it hurts. It's meaningful because it shapes. And when you're challenged, when your integrity is questioned, the instinct is to defend. But the strongest communicators don't defend. They explain.
How do you feel about being called a liar due to Risa Khan's case?
So this is something which I don't lose much sleep over. And I'll say that because I am in the business of politics. My political opponents will do whatever it takes to lower my esteem and the esteem of my party in the public eye. But ultimately, you answer to your conscience first. And if your conscience is clear, then people can throw whatever they want at you and you will still be standing.
Mr. Tharman, in 1992, you were charged under the Official Secrets Act for being implicated with leaking figures to the Business Times. You pleaded not guilty and you fought the case, but was fined for breaching the OSA. During this period, between 1992 to 1994, is it considered a low point in your life?
Well, it was a strange episode, let me put it that way. They got the wrong man. The prosecution knew that an official figure had been leaked. They knew who it got to. They needed to find a source. It would have been more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult for them to prosecute those who received or used the information without also being able to prosecute someone who was a source. The whole case started off with me being a source and charged with communicating that figure. I pleaded not guilty because there was never any evidence that the figure was actually cited at this meeting that I was at between a group of private sector economists and me and my colleague. There was never any evidence. It was an inference. The case of negligence was that I had papers with me, which I never denied, which had the figure on the papers, and across the table, the private sector economists could have cited it. That was the case for negligence. So the prosecution actually brought the table into the courtroom, and the prosecution witness was asked to come and sit at one end, and the same paper I had was put at the other end where I was sitting. And they asked her, "What do you see?" And she said, she cannot see the figure. So the inference was not even backed by the evidence. Eventually, the court decided, nevertheless, to find me guilty of this charge of mishandling my documents. The OSA case didn't actually involve a psychological setback for me. But I must say the person who took the brunt of it was my wife.
Pritam was guarding his position. Tharman was bringing us into his reasoning. One assumed we should already be on his side. The other helped us walk beside him. These moments weren't powerful because they were emotional. They were powerful because they were human. Because when someone feels hurt, they don't just answer. They reflect. When you want to inspire, don't just say what happened. Say how it changed you. When you want to be understood, don't just share your position. Share your perspective. And when you speak sincerely, you don't just get answers. You get people. These weren't just interviews. They were lessons in being human. Thanks for watching.